Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan.
Chris.
Lee.
Dan's back.
Hello, Dan.
Good holiday?
Yeah, it wasn't bad, thanks.
Yeah.
Apart from explosions and traffic and all sorts of things, but the good bits were good.
Good.
So that's kind of... You had a better holiday than McLaren had a test.
Yes.
No, he said there was explosions. It was about the same.
It's a good point, actually.
Well, no, there wasn't any electrical failures on this one or mysterious vibration problems.
No, the engine blew.
Oh, so it was the same then.
Don't know. Mysterious vibration problems. I'm sure you had a couple of good nights.
Bum.
Right, did anyone have less than a minute for the first one? No.
Right, so Formula One then.
Yeah, Formula One. Lee, stop it.
We've had, since last week, another test session.
Nine of the teams have been testing.
And McLaren has just been consistently breaking down.
They've been testing the limits of what they can do in the garage.
I don't know how much more McLaren bashing we can actually do, following on from last week and 2 years ago.
Let's pull the
and
positives from
last
it.
week. Let's pull the positives from it.
The lack of reliability has been very consistent.
Yes.
Consistently inconsistent.
No, the reliability problem being consistent.
No, that implies it's the same thing that's going wrong every time.
The orange.
Oh, hang on, it is.
Yeah.
Everything.
The orange looks great in the sunlight.
I wonder what it looks like at full speed. No. We're not going to get to see that.
Well, we will, but apparently, as we've already mentioned,
Just not
20 miles per hour, 30 kilometres per hour down on the straight. And the second test, which we were hoping would be a lot better for McLaren, really wasn't.
No, Alonso has, as everyone will have seen by now, been fuming. We've got one problem, and that's the power unit.
But a bitch ain't one hit me.
We've got one problem, so he'd rather have 99.
Yeah, no, I saw a brilliant.
Sorry, 99's a more Kimmy's thing, aren't they? Just sat in the garage eating one.
I saw a brilliant, I think it was News Thump article a few weeks ago that said Jay-Z down to 98 problems. Now he's managed to fix his Wi-Fi.
But Beyonce is now having twins, so he's up to 100.
Well, there you go.
Right, so testing. Who did good? Who didn't do good is the basics for the second week.
Well, for the third week in a row in podcasting, we genuinely don't know because we don't know who's bag sanding, sandbagging, fuel loads. We do know what tyres they were running, but
The further up the grid you go in testing times is the more mystery you get.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
mean-
worth remembering last year, isn't it, where Force India were topping the timesheets, and then really sucked for the first half of the season.
I think Force India are in real trouble this year.
I think they're in real
That's
trouble
what we
this
said
year.
last year and the year before.
No, we thought money troubles last year, but I think their car's slow. I think isn't there something about it being overweight as well? It's a very heavy car they've made.
Something like
Something, yeah.
that. Yeah, I mean, if we start at should we start at the bottom of the timesheets, which would be McLaren, unfortunately.
Yes.
No, was Sauber not slower than McLaren?
On one of the 4 days, I think. Of the second
but I
test.
think on ultimate, if you not.
Oh, if you take it like the best lap,
the best lap of
possibly Sauber. I mean, you can't say an awful lot about Sauber, really. Car doesn't look very fast. Drivers don't look very fast. The shining star that, as we said last week, was Giovinazzi when he took Wehrlein's place in the first test. Made that car look reasreasonable. Everybody else has made it look like a Sauber.
And I've lost all my notes because the internet's just gone down. I'm having to work off memory here. That's not good at my age. I think Sauber. We weren't expecting. We weren't expecting them to trouble the top end of the score sheets. They're going to be of a similar speed to what cars were getting last year, which is unfortunate because this year's cars are meant to be 3 seconds a lap faster.
Well, yeah, the downforce is making them faster. So Sauber are actually their car is quicker than last year's Sauber, for example. But the the fact that they're using an old power unit's really going to hurt them. And
Presumably, if you're down on speed, you're down on downforce.
yeah, exactly. And therefore you're down on ultimate corner speed and everything else. So Sauber are probably got more to worry about actually than McLaren, because they don't have that optimism of, well, we can fix it, because you can't. That's the power unit, that's the power it provides. There's not going to be any upgrades to that because it's last year's power unit. Sauber are in real trouble for this year, I think.
Actually, when you look at the fastest times over the test now, Giovinazzi was actually the slowest Sauber driver.
But on the day, he made it look...
Yeah, no, I'm just how it shook out.
But I mean, going on the fastest times, Sauber were actually 0.3 faster on their fastest lap than McLaren were on theirs.
Over the whole testing.
Over the whole testing. That's based on the soft tyres.
Yeah, but then you look at times like McLaren were out there doing on ultra softs, and they were like 2.5 seconds off Mercedes Ferrari pace, which is frightening, really.
Yeah. Stoffel put in the fastest McLaren time on the ultra soft.
Yeah,
and he was 2.7 seconds down on Kimi.
Yeah.
On the super softs.
Was that the first or the second test?
Oh, sorry, hang on. That puts it more in perspective. The McLaren was on the ultra soft. Kimi was on the super soft.
Yeah, the fastest time of the entire testing, I think, was done on super softs. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's I think from that we can definitely take the McLaren is slow, and Ferrari have been doing a little bit of bag sanding.
Don't know.
Well, I don't know, but McLaren are
super softs with next to no fuel in. They are going to run quick.
Yeah, but you'd still have thought one of the ultra soft laps would have been quicker, because they did end up first and second, and Seb was
again. You cannot tell because it depends on the fuel loads.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's no, we can't say that Ferrari are like flattering to deceive yet.
Well, no. Also, what you got to remember is Vettel. When Vettel put in that lightning time before Raikkonen then went faster, Vettel actually lifted off before the end of the lap.
That'll be why he was 0.3 down then.
He lifted off around the last bend apparently, because he was like, "Oh, I don't want to make this look too quick." Whereas Kimi didn't care, because Kimi.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I mean, if you look at Sauber's problems and then work forward to or work backwards, whichever way it is, to McLaren's problems, McLaren are in shit city. Let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah.
They're in a lot of trouble. And everybody's pointing the finger at Honda and the power unit. Alonso has had some choice words to say this week, which lend more fuel to the fire that he may well walk before his contract is up. And I saw a rumour today that McLaren may have to choose between Alonso or Honda at the end of 2017.
That's the thing that's doing the rounds, because of course McLaren have got this contract with Honda for 10 years.
Yeah.
We're into the third year of it now.
There are break clauses in it though.
Yeah.
They can break this year.
Yeah, the end of this year. Either side.
Yeah.
And it will really depend if Alonso decides, that's it, I'm going. He may well stick out the season with them. But he may sign a pre-contract agreement for another team or announce his retirement in the summer.
Yeah. I can't see Alonso walking away from McLaren mid-season. I know that there are people saying he's not going to stick it out, but I can't see him having somewhere better to go.
Honda are paying Alonso's salary, are they not?
And don't forget, if he walks, because he's getting 32 million, isn't he?
Yeah, per year.
Yeah. So if
he walks, he might finish the race.
If he walks. He'd be slow, but at least you get all your laps in.
Fernando, everyone is faster than you.
Can you jog a bit, mate?
And then Honda announced that the 2018 engine is going to be made out of shoe soles.
But I mean, let's face it, there's worse jobs you can have for £32 million.
Oh yeah, completely. Of course, I found it quite fascinating as well that McLaren is still paying Jenson Button £5 million to do nothing.
£5 million insurance policy in
Yeah,
case Alonso
that's what I'm
goes. Enough.
So essentially, they're paying Alonso $37 million, but a little bit of that's going to Jenson.
Yeah.
Which is the same salary that Bottas is on, so it's obviously an F1 pension is $5 million a year if you retire.
Yeah, absolutely.
But don't.
No. But so McLaren are in a bit of trouble, as they have been for the last 2 years, and Boulier as well has actually said something of substance rather than just brushing comments off to one side and saying that that's never what he said in the first place, and putting his arm around Mr. what's his name, Hasegawa, and saying, Hasegawa-san, we very much love Honda. Please stay with us. This is partnership is going to work well if we work together. He's firmly laid the blame with Honda and said culture is not that of a Formula One engine manufacturer, but they're a big company. They want to do things their own way. But all the successful companies in Formula One have allowed themselves to be immersed within Formula One culture and allowed outside, people with experience in Formula One to be a part of their team, whereas Honda aren't doing that. They're still building engines in Japan and then shipping them to the McLaren factory or to wherever they're testing in Spain or whatever, and saying, well, there you go, that's what we built in Japan. Whereas even Mercedes moved all their engine manufacturing to Brackley. That's where they do all their customer engines and everything. It's Renault are the same. I think Renault might build their engines in France, but they're built in France, but they're assembled, put together, and tested in England.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's the worst thing you can say.
Not saying that England's better than Japan. Just saying, there's not an awful lot of Formula One culture in Japan.
It's the worst thing you can say, though, for an F1 engine. It doesn't travel well.
No,
no,
it's not Guinness, is it?
No. Plus, think of all that money as well that Honda would have to especially charter flights, freight flights from I'm gonna guess Tokyo to Barcelona, which that's gonna be a hell of a flight. It's gonna be about a 17-hour flight.
Do you reckon it's a running joke in McLaren?
No, I don't think anything's running
I
in McLaren.
think it's a walking, limping, and staggering joke. They can't run yet.
The Honda guy walks in the garage and hear a mechanic go, Hasegawa, our engine has a problem.
Hey. Yeah, but the problems have become public, and it makes troubling reading.
I have a question.
Go on, Em.
Generally, the teams are pretty political. That's not a shock to say that.
No.
If they're talking about these problems publicly,
yeah,
is it because they're so pissed off at Honda, or is it because they think that talking about them publicly is going to get the best results out of Honda?
They've tried being nicey, and they said, let's try what Red Bull did.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of devil's advocate going on there as well, because whilst you were away, Dan, I actually said if I was Zach Brown, and this was after the first test, before we saw the horrors of the second test, if I was Zach Brown, I would be on the phone to BMW, Ford, anyone who would listen, Chevrolet, Peugeot even, good God, Toyota perhaps even, just really twisting life into Honda, just anyone who would listen to you, because you've got to. It was the stubbornness of Ron Dennis that put McLaren in the situation that they're currently in.
Yeah,
we can't win a world championship as a customer team. Was their thing? We've got to be a de facto works team. So they went with Honda.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent, but when it's not working, you've got to know when to step back and say, well, maybe we made a bad decision here. How can we correct this? Rather than being like, no, it's working, it's fine. Everybody just keep doing what you're doing, because it's not working, and it hasn't been working.
One question that's kind of in the back of my mind, and it's again with the politics of F1 and the way that the teams put things out, and everything's usually behind closed doors and any dissatisfaction isn't mentioned. So we're getting all these negative comments from McLaren about Honda. What are the bits like that they're not putting out in the public domain?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind betting there's been some actual raised voices across tables in meeting rooms and perhaps in briefing rooms in paddocks, particularly in Barcelona recently. But the actual nitty-gritty of the problem appears to be engine vibration, jiggling free.
That was week 2's problem.
Yeah, jiggling free the electronic system which Honda have put in place. And Honda rebuilt a power unit and went, whoa, we don't know what went wrong there. Try this one. And the same thing happened again.
See, the other thing to think is as well is the fact that, and this is probably something that's going to make McLaren doubly upset. Is that Honda were quite vocal, weren't they, with the whole Size Zero approach from McLaren, that they weren't giving them enough space to work in, and that was why the turbo was in the wrong place, and that was why they had cooling issues, blah blah blah.
That was 2015's excuses. Yeah.
Now, they still had the same sort of Size Zero shenanigans, didn't they, in 2016? But the car looks bigger this year, and it looks like they've sort of gone away from that like ultra thin Coke bottle shape at the back of the car. So if they've given Honda more room to work with, and this is happening now, then you if you're McLaren, you must think like, what do we have to fucking do here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I understand what you mean. It's worrying from both sides, but
of course, the vibration can't be the only problem if they're 30 kilometres an hour down.
No, this is something else as well that I mentioned in the last couple of podcasts. What they've done is they've looked at how the Mercedes engine of late worked or works and gone, we'll build one like that, without actually completely understanding. Oh right, so that's how it works. It's like literally giving here is a picture of a man. Build that out of Lego. Okay. Yeah. Now make that man walk. Well, I can't do that. I don't really know what to do from here on out.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that right now.
It seems absolutely insane to me to put together an engine where you don't understand the principles behind it as your primary customer engine.
Yeah.
Now, I can see them doing it as a lab thing to try and get the hang of what's actually going on there. But for it to be what they're putting in their one customer Formula One team's car.
The only thing I'll say that's going to be a complete saving grace for Honda, I think, throughout this year is the abolition of tokens. They can develop the engine as much as they want, change it around. They still only allow 4, aren't they?
Yeah, four complete power units.
So they'll probably get through them by the time they get to Saturday morning in Australia.
Yeah.
And they can take power units out of the pool and put different power units in, as I understand it.
No,
yeah, but they only get 4.
No, they have 4. Once the engine has been used in a session, those components are locked in.
Yeah, but an unused power unit, you can take that out of the pool and put a newly developed one in.
Yeah.
But
so
they've been through 5 power units in testing.
No, they went through 5 power units in week 1.
Oh, was that week 1?
That was week 1.
Yeah.
How many engines was through the whole test?
They went through another 2, I think, during the second week.
Jesus fuckery.
But that's across 2 cars, so they've got 8 engines for 2 cars across a season.
But they only used 1 chassis in testing, and that's eaten 6 engines.
Yeah. That's crackers, isn't it? Like that's mental.
It's
it's so much easier with Jensen not being in it. So much easier.
Yeah.
I would be fucking distraught.
Thing is,
there's a lot of stories been coming out about, you know, Jensen won't be racing this season, but McLaren still have an option on him to drive for 2018.
Well, the thing is, he's moved to LA now.
Yeah.
He lives in Los Angeles with his girlfriend, who I believe is from Los Angeles. And he seems quite happy. Then McLaren actually put a video out a couple of weeks ago of him picking up a brand new McLaren from McLaren Los Angeles, and that's now is just his daily driver. He drives that round Los Angeles. But
Can he fit?
it's a hard life for
Can he
5
fit
million.
much shopping in it?
I don't know. I don't know if he goes down to Walmart and fills up with things and.
Oh no, the big
Like Costco or something.
big supermarkets in LA are all Ralph's.
Yeah.
Oh right, okay, fine.
I don't need a boot. I can buy people to carry my things.
Yeah, that's it. For 5 million for doing nothing, he's doing all right, isn't he? But no, the point I was going to make was Jenson Button seems quite happy not racing. If Alonso does turn around and say, "I'm not having this. This is not what I signed up for," and disappears. Either halfway through towards the beginning or at the end of 2017, is Jenson really going to want to come back to all that? Because as far as I can tell, Jenson's quite happy not worrying about how shit that car is.
And how to politically say, this fucking sucks.
Yeah. You know, I've been in this. I'm a world champion. I've been in this team for 8 years, and it's just gone downhill since the second season I was here.
Yeah.
Remember when this car was silver and used to win things?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, remember I beat Lewis Hamilton that season.
It was good till Lewis left.
Well,
You sound like a YouTube commenter.
That's the worst insult I've ever received.
It could have been worse. He could have said you sound like an ESPN commenter.
did you like that comment that I posted on the chat thread from the Daily Mail comments?
Yes.
That's obviously the way to do it, because you can just buy anyone out of your contract. Just that's just the way the world works.
Explain what you posted. 'Cause
It was all of McLaren's problems can be sorted, and will Alonso walk by buying Bottas and Massa out of their contract, put Massa back into retirement, move Bottas back to Williams, and put Alonso in a Mercedes, and then McLaren will be fine.
I always wanted to know what Formula One would be like through the eyes of a football fan.
Excuse me.
Do you mean American football or English soccer ball?
Ball.
Excuse me.
You're not a football fan. You like Leeds, don't you?
Oh!
Get out! Oh, hang on. I can't say get out. We're in your house. I'm going to treat that comment with the disdain it deserves when I'm doing the mix. Remember, I have editorial control.
Yeah, Sam. You don't want your podcast to get funny. Be funny. Get rid of me.
Hashtag no block.
Hashtag gonna make Lee sound like a Dalek.
Hashtag fake news.
Hashtag Dalekly. Yeah, I'll take that.
We'll move up the timing sheets. Haas were next.
Now, yeah, Haas have had a slightly more difficult time of things than perhaps they had it, last season. Last season was
Last season, the nose kept falling off.
Well, yeah, it was the wing, wasn't it? The front wing fell off a
kept,
few times.
The front wing kept Grosjeaning.
Yeah.
And then when they got the front wing attached, the brakes started to fail on a regular basis.
And the brakes have been failing again on the Haas during testing.
Yes, now they have announced today that they are hoping to be able to test new brakes in Bahrain.
Oh, but the thing is, we've been
Not
here.
the first race.
No!
The thing is,
Well spotted! That was going to be my next question. Can you see the flaw in their thinking?
yeah, I can see the flaw in their thinking. We've been
We
here
want to
before.
start off fast, and then by Bahrain we'll be able to stop as well.
Because we've been here before. They tested new brake stuff in, was it Brazil? In practice in Brazil. But everybody on the grid uses the same brake material. Yet Haas thought it was a problem with the brake material and not the way that they cool them.
Yeah, it's Grosjean's. They go, so you still haven't fixed the problem with the brakes? It's fine, Roman. We passed the crash test. Get in the car.
And Roman Grosjean has said this week that he still has desires to be a world champion and is pinning his hopes on a seat with Ferrari.
Did he? So am I.
These new brakes apparently going to come from Carbon Industry, so they're not going to be using the Brembo ones that every other team seems to,
use.
Well, that's good because at the minute I think they come from Amazon.
They're moving up to Prime.
Yeah, they're getting rid of old Top Gear DVDs by using them as brake discs.
But yeah, Haas are, I love the way that Autosport have worded this. They have cited a lack of consistency with its current brakes.
A lack of consistency.
I would have
Yeah,
gone for...
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's not
Sometime-
consistent.
Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they explode.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe this is why Ferrari like them because that's such an Italian attitude, isn't it?
Hey, sir, it's not this is not working. It must be something else.
It's a fast.
Hey, it's a me, Mario.
Yeah, Grosjean has said that he can't live with the weight of brake issues. To be honest, if they haven't many more brake issues, there's a chance that he won't live.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
But it must be fucking terrifying, mustn't it?
Going down the straight thinking,
Are
this
they
might
going to
not
work today?
Yeah, this might not work.
Yeah, how many corners, how many laps? That's a lot of braking.
Yeah.
I think what Haas were hoping for this season, I sort of alluded to this a few shows back when the sort of early designs for what the cars were going to look like, is there's going to be less braking going into corners because of the amount of downforce with the new aero. They won't have to be as hard on the brakes actually going into corners.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
that
but what they'll
makes
do is
sense.
they'll put smaller brakes on the cars because brake discs weigh a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'll all equal itself out.
It will.
So yeah, it's out of the frying pan into a frying pan.
Yeah, into a slightly bigger, wider frying pan. So yeah, Haas have been a little bit nondescript.
But
Kevin,
can you remember a car ever having an issue like this over 2 seasons? Like something as fundamental as brakes breaking.
Well, I can think of a team that's got something as fundamental as the engine.
The,
No,
the
yeah.
engine not engineing.
But I mean, that's that. The only thing that's getting hurt there is pride, whereas your brakes failing, the only thing that can be hurt is people.
yeah, the thing is that does call into question. You know, if Haas are allowing their car to go racing, and they know that there might be a problem with the brakes, and God forbid somebody gets hurt, and I don't necessarily mean somebody that the world knows or anything like that. It could be a spectator, it could be a marshal, it could be there are a lot of people quite close to the circuits at some of these races. The cars have to be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to be safe.
Although I do like the idea of someone saying, Maldonado was in the sport for years. If someone was going to get hurt with a crash, it would have happened by now.
This is true. Yeah, one of my favourite. It sounds like a strange thing to say, but one of the what I think is the funniest crash of available to watch on YouTube is Maldonado during his GP2 days when the red flag is being waved and everyone is slowing down, and he comes through, hits the car that's crashed, and then manages to plough into 2 other cars that have slowed down.
Absolutely.
That is only second behind Ricardo Rossit in Belgium, where he just piles into what was already the carnage about 5 seconds after it finished.
No, wasn't he 2.4 seconds behind the accident, and he still hit it?
Schumacher creaming into the back of a Toro Rosso was quite special as well at Singapore.
Yeah, and landing upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite good. And Schumacher into the back of David Coulthard in Belgium.
That was awesome.
Schumacher into the back of Kobayashi, also in Singapore.
Yeah.
Schumacher into Damon Hill in
Schumacher
1994.
into the side of Jacques Villeneuve.
Getting a theme here.
Ralph Schumacher backwards into the wall in America.
I like the idea that he doesn't realise, but he kept crashing into drivers, thinking, well, I've done it now and again and won championships.
Oh, hang on. I'm getting a theory here.
Uh-oh.
Because except for '94, all the other big Schumacher crashes were. Well, actually, no, he was still leader of the team then, and all his teammates, when they were in danger of sort of catching him, all got told to back off because there were brake issues. So maybe Schumacher didn't crash into anyone deliberately. Maybe he was just having brake issues that he wasn't managing as well.
Does that mean Kevin Magnussen is secretly Michael Schumacher?
No.
He looks very Aryan.
Well, yeah, he's also completely useless.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the major difference. One of them could drive.
He also
Yeah, I'm
looks a
gonna
bit-
call it now. I know K-Mag's got is it a 2-year contract with Haas?
Yeah, he looks a bit
This
like
will be
a
his
frog
last
as well.
year in Formula One. He's disappeared off the radar so quickly.
So just quickly, I know we've moved forward here, but I meant to say this when we were talking about McLaren before, but you've just reminded me talking about him.
So basically, we're lapping the McLaren conversation.
Yeah. We're just coming around to pass them. How this could be fucking awful. Like if McLaren have another 2015 year where they just don't get going,
Yeah.
and then the team's under pressure, what that's gonna do to Stoffel, depending on whatever he can do.
Because again, Stoffel has been successful in other other formulae that he's entered. But yeah, McLaren could ruin his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be in quite a bad position, even if he does well against Alonso. If general opinion is he's doing well against an Alonso who's stopped giving a shit,
Yeah.
then he's not going to look as good
Yeah, and
as perhaps he should.
And things like this always happen. Look at Ferrari when it wasn't last year, for instance, where the team start blaming the drivers.
Yeah.
So it would be very easy for a couple of things to happen somewhere, and McLaren to start blaming Stoffel.
Yeah.
And then at that point, he hasn't been able to show what he can do, so no other team's going to want him. McLaren decide they want to get rid of him for somebody else to get another junior driver in. If Alonso leaves the team, I can see them trying to get taking the option up on Jensen, because I just thought about it what you were saying there, because they've essentially got to save face a world champion to plug into the team,
Who is great with sponsors.
Yeah.
Not to hang around on McLaren for too long, but McLaren also need major sponsors.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Zach. We managed to get this back to McLaren every time, but that was Zach Brown's job when he came in. The first thing that he said he was going to do was get a title sponsor. No company's going to want to put the name on that car at the minute.
Yeah, he said it would also be impossible to do it for 2017.
Just want to refer back to a tweet from occasional guest and friend of the show, Sean Kelly.
Hi, Sean.
Hello, Sean.
Something that he tweeted to you, Lee. Nobody believed Atari could go bankrupt.
No.
And Atari
Went
went
bankrupt.
bankrupt.
And as I pointed out, until people played the ET game,
Nobody played the ET game.
which is why Atari went bankrupt.
But I think it was you, wasn't it, Paul, who said they were screwed over by their own arrogance?
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what Honda could do to McLaren, and McLaren to McLaren.
Yeah. Are we potentially looking at McLaren being the next Tyrrell or Brabham?
I think
Or even Lotus?
At the moment,
Tyrrell
I
is still
think we're
going.
looking at them being the next Williams.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, that's the best case scenario for them
Yeah.
at the moment. But if you look at the record of success that those three teams had previously and then just lost it.
Yeah, Tyrrell are technically still going, just under the name Mercedes.
Yeah, but Ken Tyrrell had to sell out.
Yeah, he did.
The only difference is the amount of money McLaren make through Formula One with McLaren Applied Technologies. Do you know, like the steering wheel systems are all McLaren technology, for instance. So it's, even though McLaren haven't got names on the cars, they're still making money out of the sport because other teams are paying them essentially. And it's like when you've got teams like Tyrrell, yep, they had great success, but McLaren need to be in Formula One to stay viable. Otherwise, they're just a sports car manufacturer, and I think it would. A McLaren car would not be as appealing as a McLaren is now if they don't have a Formula One team.
Yeah.
For instance, at
it
that
goes from-
point they're
yeah.
just supercars. They're just Bugatti, aren't they?
Yeah,
At that
but-
point.
Not even that, they're
Yeah.
nobles.
Yeah. So.
Yeah,
Ross.
because Bugatti are VW.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they are, aren't they?
But see,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're
Yeah,
VW.
this is the other way that Honda could be fucking McLaren as well, because like as you're saying there, if you were Zach Brown, you'd be ringing
On the
up
phone.
other companies. But there must be a similar situation to how Pirelli have been treated tyre wise. So you ring BMW and go, "Hi, it's McLaren. We'd like you to build an engine," and they look at what's going on with Honda and go, fuck that. It must be well hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of that being like the head of BMW. Go, no, it's fucking well hard, mate. We're not doing that.
Yeah, we tried it once.
We did well with Williams, then tried to take Sauber down.
They got a win.
They did get a win. And a
that-
spectacular crash.
And a spectacular crash and launched Vettel's career, as we always say.
I still say if BMW was stayed with Williams, they'd have won world championships by now.
Probably.
That was the best Alan Partridge impression I think I've ever seen you do.
I did a sterling Alan Partridge impression earlier on today when I stood on my toolbox to reach something that was a little bit even out of my reach, and the toolbox slid on a wooden floor, and I did a bit of a dance just to rebalance myself, and my colleague said that was very Michael Flatley there, and I turned around and went, Flatley, my dear, I don't river dance. Give her down.
I applaud that. That was good. That was good. Next up the timing sheets was the Force India. The car is apparently heavy. It's got a front end that looks like a Stingray's flange.
Yep.
Um,
It's an ugly looking car, but that won't matter if it's fast.
but that's the question: is it going to be fast?
Well, last year they were what we considered bag sanding. They were, as we said before, top of the timesheets. Chelis Jr. had quite a lot of time in the car last year's testing. And we thought, well, no, Force India, they're going to drop off the radar. You know, and they ended up beating Williams into fourth place. They did for Force.
They started the season really badly.
They did, yeah. But for Force India, they had quite a successful year. The most successful year I think they've had ever. You know, in their 10 years in the sport.
They've never finished that high up.
No, exactly. So you know, the only people who finished ahead of them: Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes. So you've got that aspect of things, and they are desperate to push forward and try and be closer to the top three. I'm afraid it's not looking good unless they've switched their philosophy all of a sudden into sandbagging rather than bag sanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody will have the information up in front of them, but I think Ocon was quicker than Perez over the two tests.
I'm correcting you.
Perez
had the fastest. Perez had the fastest time on Ultrasoft's 120.116.
which isn't shit at all.
Not really.
It's 1.4 down on the fastest time.
Yeah.
But we think that was done with next to no fuel in there, and it was a how fast can we get this, but let's not push it all the way.
No, I don't. You think that? I think Ferrari can go quicker than that. I think Mercedes can go quicker than that.
I think they're both bag sanding.
Yeah,
Sorry, no, sandbagging.
there's no way a 1:18.6 is the ultimate pace for these cars.
Well, it can't be because that wasn't even on the fastest time.
That's what I mean. So the gap's bigger than that. Like I think the gap between whichever teams end up being the top teams, say, which could just be, to be perfectly honest, Mercedes and Ferrari at the moment.
Yeah.
I think the gap then, going further down the field, is going to be massive by the time you get to the mid-pack.
And then I think the mid-pack themselves will probably be quite close.
I think they might be quite spread out.
Do you think?
Yeah, because I think there's, like, for instance, the budget for Haas versus Renault will be quite big. So there might be like half a second between Haas and Renault.
Well, look, Renault, I mean, we'll talk about Renault in a bit, but Renault looked awesome in the first test. Like, Palmer finishing third, Hülkenberg finishing fourth on one day, and seemed to be going really strong, doing loads of laps. And in the second test, they just sort of fell away a little bit.
I still don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that they're going to get better and better and better this year.
I think, I think the same with Honda as well, because of the in-season engine development.
Well, maybe, but they haven't been able to do it over 3 years. I know there's in-season engine development, but they've had dynos going 24 hours a day for 3 years and they still haven't managed to fix the problem.
I think Honda are starting from such a bad place.
Yeah.
We're not
But
going
I'm
to see
calling
spectacular
this,
things from them.
I'm
No, but
calling
there
this
could be
right
improvements.
now that if Mercedes don't sign Alonso and either keep Bottas or go with Vettel, that Alonso will be in a Renault next year. He'll go to Renault, to a half decent car, to see what he can do, and he'll probably retire
with Renault. Yeah, that's not a bad call.
But getting back to the Force India, it looks. I don't know. There's just something about the overall balance of the car. It looks ungainly to me. They're the only team that's stuck with the platypus.
Well, no, they've sort of they've gone with a very steep nose, haven't they?
Yeah. It's got the big drop off, which it looks bigger than last year's, and they've replaced the nostrils with we called it the Fork India.
Yeah.
So the three pronged nose, but I don't know. It doesn't look balanced at the rear. It may just be the size of the fin that's throwing it off, because I think them and Renault have got the two biggest fins, or certainly how the livery makes it look to me.
Yeah.
But Force India, I think this year are going to struggle to keep fourth.
I don't think they'll be anywhere near fourth, if I'm quite honest with you. I think where we've just sort of put them in relation to where the rest of the teams are, so what's that you've got behind them? McLaren, Sauber, Haas. Yeah, probably 7th, 6th, 7th, possibly.
Yeah,
just as a guess. It's pure guesswork. That's all any of this is, to be perfectly honest with you.
Until we see actual wheels turning in anger in Australia, all we can do is wildly speculate. And hey, we're good at that. We've been doing that for 2 years now.
Yeah, we're fantastic at wildly speculating. Talking of wild speculation and jumping the gun a little bit, some of the rumours are that Red Bull are worried about a particular team. And it's not a team that's been ahead of them. It's a team that were behind them. Red Bull appears to be quite worried about Williams' pace during the second test in particular.
We'll get to Williams in a while. In fact, we'll get to Williams after we've got to Red Bull.
Yeah,
based on the timing sheets. Renault were next up.
Yeah.
Hulkenberg was the faster of their two drivers. They had reliability issues early on in the first test. They appear to have got those sorted fairly swiftly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to see what Renault can actually do now that everything is laid out for them in how they want it.
Yeah. Jolyon Palmer has said that it's great to really throw these cars into corners at full speed. He says he smiles whilst he's driving the car. It's great fun to drive, and if you're enjoying what you're doing, I think you're going to find that you're getting the best out of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Jolyon Palmer, as default as he is in that seat, gets on. In 2017.
Yeah, I mean they had no choice but to keep him.
Yeah.
But if there could be a decent career for him if he basically doesn't fuck up.
Well, be exactly what Lee said last week. Takes him a while to bed into a formula. Yeah. It took him 2 years before he was any good in GP2, and then he should have won it perhaps 2 times before he actually did win it. And it does take him a little while to settle in.
But he was definitely looking stronger towards the end of last season.
He was, yeah. His second half of the season compared to the first half of the season was magnificent. Or if we gave out an award for most improved driver, and I'm not sure if we did or not, but that probably would have gone to Jolyon Palmer for me.
And he's got a highly regarded teammate as well this year.
Somebody to actually go against, rather than Kevin Magnussen, who is Kevin Magnussen. Yeah, he's got Nico Hulkenberg, and if he's measurable up against Hulkenberg, then we'll be able to know exactly how good he is.
I still can't get. I don't get Haas's decision with Magnussen.
Best that was available.
Yeah, maybe. Don't know.
Because I mean, do you take a chance on Princess Pascal? Although with the amount of Ferrari money that's been pumped into Haas, you're going to have the option of taking Verline.
Yeah.
At least you're getting somebody in with experience and he'll probably be a good number 2 driver alongside Grosjean.
Yeah, but they're a team of number 2 drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grosjean was an all right number 2 to Kimi, but as a number 1
Yeah.
in the team, he's not.
Maybe they just wanted somebody that wasn't going to start a fight in the garage.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Fair enough, yeah.
Renault are actually saying that the engine has come out better than they expected, which obviously that's going to be a positive sign not only for them,
But for all their
Red
customer
Bull,
teams.
Red Bull and Toro Rosso as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a bit of a worrying thing looking at the data about the testing here. Number of laps done. Worst was McLaren, only 425.
Yeah.
Then you've got Toro Rosso,
Yeah, they had
584. Renault, 597. Red Bull, 684.
So that's Honda and then the 3 Renault
Then the
teams.
3 Renault teams.
Yeah, they
all
did
put in
suffer from reliability.
pretty small number of laps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the energy recovery system that was giving them the problems, by all accounts. So the engine itself is good. It's just could that be heading into Honda territory because they were having problems with the ERS
In their first
in
couple
the
of
first
years.
couple of years. This year looks like something different because there's no energy to recover.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, the thing, Renault have been, Renault haven't had such a long time out and then back into the sport, have they? Like Honda did.
No. But they have completely redesigned their engine for this year, haven't
Yeah,
they?
they have completely.
Can I just say something?
That's kind of the idea of podcasts.
Yeah, that's true. The hybrid era is not working.
Why?
Bring back the V8s
What? No.
or the V10s.
It's stupid.
Don't bring.
I agree that it's not working particularly well, but I don't think that's because of the engine formula. It's because one team is running away with it and everyone else is failing to catch up.
Yeah. To move backwards in engines now is completely flying in the face of the spirit of Formula One.
Yeah. I agree with Lee.
Yeah, I just think I don't know. It's just not. It's not doing it.
Well, I mean, in what ways is it not doing it? The cars are the quickest they've ever been.
Remember what Sean said as well when he was on last time about the cars are the most reliable they've ever been as well when it comes to races. There's the smallest amount of breakdowns in history. Was it 2016? I think we had three races where all cars finished the race, or two cars were all two races.
All
sorry.
cars were classified.
Were classified, yeah. So that only happened was it 5 times in history before 2016?
Something like that, yeah.
Top and bottom of it is the engines don't matter. The regulations matter, and having cars that are comparable to each other matters. That's what makes a good race. What the lumps actually do in the back of the car aren't the issue. So, I mean, yeah, Mercedes got it right. Mercedes shouldn't be penalised for getting it right. The top and bottom of it is this whole engine freeze and freeze on engine development in the season should have never happened. The token system should have never happened.
No, I agree with that.
And if teams could have, from the word go, Renault, Ferrari and Honda could have been trying to copy Mercedes from the first days of the hybrid.
This is exactly what I've always said about Formula One. I don't like the fact that everything is so secretive when it comes to developing engines and power units, particular designs of things. I think everything should just be out and open on the table there. If you're going to use it and it's in a car on a race weekend, the design or anything it must be available for everyone to look at and go, well, we should do something like that. Or, well, I see what they've done there and that's going to work really well for them, but we should not do it that way, but maybe our car would work better if we did it this way. And constant innovation and pushing things forward is a way to do it. Not secret. We're not letting you see what our engine is, and it's awesome, and we're gonna dominate for the next 8 years.
It's a competition, though. You're always gonna get that. Like you can't. Nobody would want to give their adversary an advantage, but
then it's up to them to always be on top. Then
the problem with Formula 1 now is the fact that globally a financial situation doesn't lend itself well to Formula One because it's not. Formula One isn't popular enough for the amount of money it takes to make Formula One work. If there was back in the days when there was cigarette sponsorship and there was piles of money and like everybody had loads of money to be quite frank, there was enough money to keep the sport going. So you could have like money just being pumped into these teams because the money was available to pump into it. So, but that's the problem because Formula One should be ridiculously unachievable. It should be millions of pounds on ridiculous things to get a tenth of a second. So I mean, this is what I hope.
But do we want just the richest team to win?
It's how every other sport in the world works.
Not necessarily. Leicester City won the Premier League last year. By far not the richest team in the Premier League.
No, oh well, maybe not. But in general, you're always going to get freak years, and freak wins.
I'd love to see a freak year with a freak win in Formula One.
You did, Braun one.
Yeah, but that was now 8 years ago.
Yeah, but it would be a freak year if it happened more often.
Yeah, but it's time. It's time for another one.
I don't know. Like it's I mean, even in sports with individual competitions like cycling and stuff like that, people that do best.
Well, Team Sky win in cycling.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Because they've got tons of money.
And they've got the best facilities.
No drugs at all, honestly.
And they can probably afford the best drugs.
They've got the best envelopes. That's all it takes.
But no, I've always thought that Formula One should be a development race, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I just quite like the idea of everything being, fans as well being able to see, only, let's be honest, only the geekiest of fans would look at like a blueprint engine drawing and go, oh, what's that? What have they put in there? And
you mean us?
Yeah.
And
it would just be like, I think it would be great if day one of testing or day one of racing, you're just like, well, that's what's in each car. There it is. That's how each team has done it. And then for each engine manufacturer or each team to go, well, hang on a second, we're Ferrari or we're Haas and we've got Ferrari engine, but I quite like the idea of what Mercedes have done with that bit there. And then going to Ferrari, could we try that? And Ferrari being like, well, no, that's not going to work with our engine, but we can certainly try something else. And then you end up with people pushing Ferrari forward, and then maybe halfway through the season, Ferrari engine changes, and the Ferrari engine is then by far the best. 0.3 a second.
And we've always said that as fans, what we want is really close racing.
Yeah, and then it's up to Mercedes then to go, right, what can we do then? Ferrari have now pretty much copied us. How can we do that better than Ferrari? And all in the meantime, Renault have gone, right, no, we're not going to copy them. We're going to do something completely different.
Yeah.
And then, by the end of the season, Renault are the fastest engine. And lap times have increased by 3 seconds over the course of a season. I just think that... Decreased. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for pointing that. Yeah, improved. Yeah, lap times have come down.
Got not worse.
Yeah. Yes, that's what that to me would be super exciting. Would make for a great championship.
I agree that Formula One is, or in my eyes, Formula One should be a show. It is a sport, obviously. But I hate the idea that Formula One has to be usable technology in the real world. If stuff trickles down, it's great. When tinfoil became a thing because of the space program, they weren't building rocket ships thinking we'll be able to cook turkey with this one day. It was just a byproduct of it. It dripped down because it was there. And we thought, oh, there's another use for that. I hate this whole thing.
But it's a marketing thing, though, isn't it? That's the thing. Like Mercedes use Formula One to sell Mercedes cars. That's what they're doing.
But nobody buys it. Nobody buys it because of the technology that's on it. They buy it because of the lifestyle. They buy it because of the fact that they're winning lots of races. They buy it because Lewis Hamilton like love them or hate them, appeals to a massive demographic
Yeah.
of people that probably would like a Mercedes.
Yeah, Ferrari are an F1 to sell cufflinks.
Yeah. So I don't think it matters. I don't. It's the same as even if the cars were like most of it were off the shelf parts that the teams didn't actually make themselves. The team that had their badge on the winning car would still get the fucking rub at the end of the day from winning.
Do you remember
Yeah.
when Alonso was world champion with Renault, because he's never been world champion with?
200% Renault's sales went up.
Yeah, exactly, 200%, because Alonso was pictured
Yeah.
driving his world championship prize, which was a Renault Laguna.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's what you got from Renault for winning the world championship.
Yeah.
Hey, drive a Renault Laguna, and your contract says you can't drive anything else.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's why he moved to McLaren.
and I might be taken out. I might be talking.
Now he's got a
out
Honda
turn
Civic.
here, but Alonso winning the world championship with Renault helped them break Spain as a market. I think. I don't think Spain had. It's
It helped break Formula One in Spain, because
Yeah,
Formula
yeah,
One
yeah.
was struggling in Spain for quite some time.
Yeah, until Alonso won the championship, Spain was you drive a Seat and you watch MotoGP.
GP. Yeah.
Yeah, and rallying.
Yeah.
Mm.
Should we get back to testing?
Yeah, who's next
Run
up on
over.
that?
Next up, we had the Toro Rosso. Carlos Sainz was the fastest of the two drivers.
Yeah, but as Dan pointed out, also did very few laps in relation to Ferrari and Mercedes engines. That Toro Rosso looks great. It's one of the, in fact, it's the best looking car on the grid. But I'm a little bit worried that perhaps they've gone a little bit too radical with their design, and it might bite them in the ass to start with, at least. If they're going to suffer from reliability troubles, much in the same vein as and I'm not.
They've gone too radical with the design in the car that looks like the Mercedes.
No. They've gone. It's too much of a change. Do you know what I mean? It's.
I think it's engine it's Renault that's been a bit touchy though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm wondering if the Toro Rosso body shape and design that they've gone for is giving the Renault the same problems in that car as the original McLaren Honda, not the original one because that was way back in the 80s, 90s, but the 2015 McLaren Honda, when, as you were saying before, Lee, everything's a bit too tight in there for this to work properly. I'm wondering if Toro Rosso done the same thing for that Renault engine,
Maybe.
because there are some cars out there who haven't got that size zero back end.
I'll tell you what, he's well up the road in testing times from Danny Kvyat.
How far?
Carlos Sainz was a 1:19.8
On which tyres?
on. I didn't look at the time.
Kitten Softs.
Kitten
Softs.
And where are you?
Daniel Kvyat.
Daniel Kvyat was. He set his fast time on the super soft, but he was a 1:24.
124.
Yeah.
Ooh, good lord. I know he did lose a complete day during the second test due to a breakdown that was going to take.
Should have lost his fucking seat. It would have made so much more sense for Gasly to be in that car this year. It was a Gasly decision.
But yeah, he was. When I say he, I mean Danny Kvyat. He lost an entire day through a breakdown. I think it was it an oil problem?
He lost about 4 races after his breakdown last year when he got demoted.
Yes, you did.
If he's doing them, I'm doing them.
Dum 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 dum.
Yeah, but it's different when I do them.
It's
Yeah,
no different.
yeah,
at all.
I'm funny.
Funny looking. Moving swiftly on.
Yeah, I've forgotten my point, but yeah, Sainz is faster than Kvyat. That's not a surprise.
No.
Yeah, there's big gap between them. Big gap between the Williams drivers as well.
Well, that's because Lance Stroll put 3 cars into the wall.
Not once, not twice, but thrice.
Did anybody notice after we said on last week's podcast that Lance Stroll was going to be in the car the first 2 days of the test that they switched the drivers round, and Massa actually did the first 2 days of the second test?
Yeah, and then Lance Stroll only got 2 sessions. I think he was Thursday afternoon and Friday morning.
Yeah,
And Massa actually got 3 full days.
yeah.
Did you hear what Massa said after that? After he put the first 2 days in,
No.
before Lance got in the car, he said, "This is what we need to do now. We've had some really good testing. The team need to carry on doing the type of job I just did."
Ooh. God almighty, that's... Jesus.
See, I'm not sure, but when he said the team need to do the type of job I just did, I don't think the team can do that. I think that's all Lance.
Yeah. Yeah. See, now Felipe Massa pumped in a lap time, which I think put him top, was it on day one of the second test?
Yeah.
And apparently, obviously, of course, we don't know fuel loads, and nobody knows what configuration anyone was running. But apparently, that made Red Bull go, "Ha! Massa's gone top." Hang on,
Massa's gone top.
Massa's gone top. And rumor has it, and it is a rumor because the two websites that I found this on had identical articles and are not reputable sources. But the Red Bull engineers said, I think it was Danny Ricciardo was in the car on the same day. Said Danny Ricciardo and said, "Go on, just go top the timesheets, Danny," and he tried and couldn't.
That's.
I'll tell you who else.
Neither of the Red Bulls did a faster time than Felipe Massa.
No, Felipe Massa is absolutely killing this new formula.
I tell you who else would have been slightly upset about this. I bet Button was looking at Massa's time and going, "Fucking hell!
I should have been in that car,
bastard!"
Grab that bloody Mercedes power again.
Red Bull were actually fourth on the timesheets. Max going fastest of the two of them.
Yeah.
Again, they are the fastest of the three Renault teams, which were fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Yeah, but are they sandbagging to Red Bull extent because nobody believed that any of the configurations of the car that they took with them to either test were going to be anything like what they're going to put on the grid in Australia?
No. These cars will be completely different.
Was it
next weekend?
2015 when it looked like Red Bull were having a torrid time during testing,
I mean,
and then Danny Ricciardo turned up and nearly put his Red Bull on pole in Australia.
Yeah, that was pretty tremendous what the turnaround they made. But what I will say is we can't turn around and say that the cars will be completely different come Australia, because if the cars are going to be completely different come Australia, what was the point in doing all this testing?
Yeah, they don't have a lot of on-track testing nowadays. They have these 8 days.
Yeah. I mean,
and
they test configurations of different things, though, don't they?
Yeah,
but I mean,
it's going to be which
the complete package.
Yeah, which one of these parts work the best? We'll use that. We'll use the one of the front axle that worked the best.
Yeah. So if they're only
that bit taught to that bit better, we'll use them.
Yeah.
If they're only picking the bits that work the best, why is Lance Stroll still on the car?
$30 million?
30 million reasons.
Yeah.
But a bitch ain't one.
Yeah, at least Williams got to do testing. Oh, sorry, we were on Red Bull, weren't we?
Yeah.
Nothing really major to report about.
Max Verstappen. Did we mention Max's overtaking comment on last week's podcast?
Yeah, we did. He said it's going to be
no different.
Everyone else said it's going to be a little bit harder, and he said,
"Why?
Is it?"
Yeah,
maybe for Dan's benefit because he hasn't listened to last week.
He's never exactly found overtaking difficult, has he?
No, but he said these cars are harder to drive, a bit more punishing over race distances, but overtaking shouldn't be a problem.
Oh, that's a point. Force India have told both the drivers that they had to lose £7 between the end of the test and Australia because they're both too heavy.
What?
Esteban Ocon is too heavy. The man is built like a rake.
Yeah, apparently he needs to lose a couple of prongs.
What?
Yeah, Force India have put both drivers on a diet because they are too heavy.
Oh, yeah, because Perez is fat as well, isn't he? Good Lord. Do you remember how skeletal Mark Webber looked in his last season in Formula 1? I don't want people looking like that getting into Formula 1 cars.
I think perhaps the car needs to lose some weight.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's half a stone, £7.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a kilogram.
Take the shark fin off.
Exactly, yeah, just take the shark fin off. We'll cut the middle of it out.
Drill some holes in it.
But yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that. But yeah, apparently, we were saying before the Force India could be the heaviest car on the grid. Yes, it is. So instead of reducing the weight on the car, reduce the weight on the drivers.
Which is going to make them weaker.
Yeah.
They've already lost like 25 stone of excess weight, haven't they? VJ Malia for most of the races.
Banned from travelling. He's still allowed to travel inside the EU, isn't he? I think.
I'm not sure.
God
Yeah.
knows. Yeah, he'll keep turning up, just displaying that incredible hairdo of his. Did I say incredible?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at hair.
Well, it's beyond credibility.
That is true. Yeah.
Therefore, incredible.
Yeah, it's the dictionary definition.
Yes.
So yeah, Red
Dick.
Bull. Daniel Ricciardo actually set the 9th fastest time overall in testing. Now I've got that up. Again, we don't know how and how the car was set. Did we? I don't recall seeing the whale tails on the Red Bulls too much
No, they
in the
weren't.
photos that came out.
I don't know. Did any other team run a blowhole other than Mercedes?
See, no, they didn't. But
Didn't see that.
there could be a reason for that.
Did you spot that, Dan?
No, I've not had time to watch much of the testing.
Okay.
There could be a reason why we haven't seen any whale tail action on the Red Bull. It's because the Red Bull is being made to be slippery in the straight line to try and make up some of the lost speed to the Mercedes.
Possibly.
So if they're trying to lose a bit of downforce, the last thing they're going to do is stick another wing on the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think here's another interesting thing though. Like Max's quickest lap was a 1:19.4, set on the super softs. Yeah.
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 So Daniel Ricciardo's was a 1:19.9, set on the ultra softs. So again, we see that ultra soft tyre being slower than
Thing
the
is, the
quickest time set on the.
Yeah, but the Ultrasoft is not available in Spain as a tyre for the race weekend anyway, is it? Supersoft is the softest tyre available.
Yeah, no, but this is a continuing thing. I mean, we'll obviously talk about this like as we move up the grid. Valtteri Bottas and Hamilton, faster lap as between the two as a super soft. Kimi Räikkönen, Vettel's fastest lap was a super soft, not the ultra soft.
That could be a circuit thing rather than a tyre thing.
Or it could be a test thing.
I was
Yeah, it
just
could be,
gonna
yeah.
say it could be a fuel thing.
Yeah.
So because the idea being, I suppose, if you were to laden your car, knowing what the super soft would be, and you had a lighter car to put the soft on, knowing what the delta would be between the tires, then stick a hard tire on the when you put your ultra soft on, would you be able to hide? You'd be able to hide what your car could actually do while running the quickest tire, because you could compare it between the two. Do you get me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what
Yeah.
you mean.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
so-
don't put the fastest tyre on. Good God, put the slower tyre
yeah, no,
on.
but you'd know what fuel you had in the car to what fuel the other car had, so the time you'd still be looking at is the slower ultra soft time.
Yeah.
Right. Here's what.
Do
Yeah.
I make sense?
Yeah.
It's a maths.
Here's my thinking on the fast super soft times.
Yeah.
On races where ultra softs are going to be available, it's going to be soft, super soft, and ultra soft.
Yeah.
Those are three compounds because they always have three
Which were the street races, weren't
in
they?
a row.
Yeah.
You're going to be qualifying, so the car's going to be set up in qualifying trim with the super softs for Q2, which are the ones you have to start the race with if you make the top 10. Ultra softs only come into play in Q3 for the fastest teams.
Yeah.
So these fast super soft times are going to be set in qualifying simulations for a Q2 setup.
Maybe
Because because the top teams wouldn't use an ultra soft in Q2.
they wouldn't be using qualifying trim in testing.
If they do race simulations, why not do qualifying simulations as well? They need to find out everything possible.
No, but even the race simulations, they won't be going. They won't be.
Well, the race distance simulations.
Yeah, distance simulation, but they won't be going for what they can do. So the only reason I'm saying that's probably not it is because that's the sort of thing that you do in testing of a weekend testing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, pre-season testing is to make sure the car works, not to set the car up for a Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Like 4 races into the season. So
I was just trying to find the tyres as well for the first 4 races, but I managed to actually completely lose that page. So instead, we will move on. Williams.
We kind of already covered them.
Yeah.
But Massa, fast, Stroll, in the wall.
And then sat in the garage for week 2.
yeah.
Didn't the listener come up with a great Lance Stroll game name if we...
No, I came up with Stroll Patrol.
Stroll Patrol, wasn't it Losing Con Stroll?
Losing con Stroll.
He wins. I was just
Yeah.
going to say if someone could think of something better.
Yeah.
But yeah, we now have a new game, I
Yeah,
think.
and I will try and find out who that was before the end of the
Lap 1,
podcast.
turn 1.
Think he's going to get that far in Monaco?
One race at a time. Let's go for Australia. He probably won't be in the car come Monaco.
Well, they'll just replace him with a large sack of money.
Large sack of money, stick a brick on the accelerator.
Go, 30 million. Go.
Yeah, but that car's going to go straight into the wall. Yes, Lance. And the difference is we don't have to feed the big bag of money.
We'll talk about Mercedes instead then, who were second fastest.
Yeah, now, just to quickly touch on what I mentioned to Dan before, because you've been away the last few weeks. Mercedes...
As you noticed.
Mercedes had, these shark fins that you see in the
Yeah.
cars. Mercedes ran a blowhole in their shark fin, like a whale fin, in that it opened up and air that went through the airbox was being expelled through the centre of the
Right.
shark fin, whale
But
fin.
when you say opened up, did it open up while they were moving?
It was constantly open. Yeah, it's like an open up, like a slit almost, I suppose. A parting of carbon fibre.
So not a movable device then.
Not a movable device. No, it was. It appeared to be an aerodynamic thing, but nobody else seemed to run that configuration of shark fin, whale tail. Well, the whale tails were the extra wings that were put on top of the shark fins. Too much marine life going on here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm really disappointed about with the whale tails?
They don't look like whale tails.
They've not made. None of the teams have made them into the boomerang TV antenna that you get on limousines, because that'd look awesome.
No one's done it with a wired coat hanger yet either.
No, that probably wouldn't have as much downforce as a whale tail does.
I don't know. I mean, you drive a what year's your Ford Cortina?
The one I was driving recently, in 81.
So you need a coat hanger aerial on that.
No, it's fine. It's got one that still works.
Oh no, I'm not having that. Right, replace it. Put a coat hanger on and just see how much the downforce difference is, and then report back to us on next week's show.
But it's only on one side, or you'll be going around in circles.
It's not a Formula 1 car.
No, exactly.
No, it's faster than a McLaren.
This is true.
So yeah, who was faster?
Who was faster? Well, Ferrari.
No. Out of the two Mercedes
Oh,
drivers.
out of the two Mercedes drivers, the fastest was Bottas
On the super soft.
on the Ultrasoft.
Was he on Ultrasofts? Was
According to the BBC, he was on Ultras.
I've got, according to Sky, Bottas on supers at 1:19.3.
Yeah.
And
F1
according to the BBC,
Against-
we've got Bottas fastest on Ultras on 1:19.3.
No, F1 Fanatics super soft as well.
BBC got something wrong. Fake news.
Well, the BBC have been dumbed down ever since they stopped broadcasting Formula 1, let's be honest.
Actually, yeah, it's the BBC, so it could actually say Bottas was second quickest in a car.
Yeah. Exactly.
But either way, Bottas got the quickest time. He seems to be settling in okay.
Yeah, he admitted that moving teams was a little bit harder than he thought. But he's, feet under the table, doing decent lap times. comparable with Lewis Hamilton. Lewis seems to be enjoying the car.
Yeah, as much as you can read anything at all into lap times in testing.
Exactly. But sandbagging, I think the award would have to go to Mercedes for sandbagging.
I think so.
They're pretty much doing what they did last year, aren't they?
You've still got that lap chart up there, Dan. Look at the amount of laps that Mercedes completed over the course of 2 weeks.
1,096.
Who was second?
Ferrari with 956.
So over 100 more laps.
Over 100 more laps. Then third, Williams.
Mercedes did 16.6 Spanish Grand Prix.
Shit.
That's 2 a day.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Absolutely
That's
crazy.
2 Spanish Grand Prix per day. That's
Yeah.
1 for each driver.
And a bit.
Yeah, and a bit. That's 1 for each driver. And I think I saw it may have been Mercedes who put this up on Twitter or Instagram, something like that. The amount of mileage that they put in testing in Spain was the equivalent of driving from Silverstone to Istanbul.
Which would have been a more interesting test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an impressive amount of laps, and it proves that the car works.
Well, this is the thing. The car works. I don't think, other than one morning where Lewis Hamilton lost a lot of time, that they had particularly any reliability issues. So, yeah, hang on. Wait a second. Let me just go run past. They lost almost a whole morning for Lewis Hamilton with a reliability issue, yet it still managed 1,096 laps.
Yeah.
I don't think they had any major issues where they were panicking or anything like that. I think, as I say, I think it was just one reliability issue that stopped Hamilton from running for most of the morning session.
They're not going to surprise us by dropping to the back of the grid, are they?
I don't think so. As I said, I think the award for the team doing the most sandbagging will go to Mercedes.
Here's one on actual testing time and mileage done. 4th overall was Marcus Ericsson. He did 1,287 miles, which was round about 70 less than Lewis Hamilton.
So he fucking should. The engine's had enough testing.
Well, yeah, it's not like the engine power unit's not going to break down, is
No.
it? But time-wise, he'll be...
Yeah, the Sauber weren't fast, but
They did a lot of laps.
They did the 5th most laps.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
4th.
Sorry, 4th, yeah.
Beat Force India by 9.
I've
Miles.
got a funny feeling about this year. I think Mercedes are sandbagging,
I think Ferrari are bag sanding.
and I think an honorary sandbagging mention goes to Lewis Hamilton as well.
For saying Ferrari are looking pretty good.
Not just that, just his times. I wouldn't even mind betting it was. He was quite happy he's behind Bottas in the times. I think he's going to be fucking mighty this year.
Well, the thing is with Lewis's times, one thing that I noticed, I was watching the Twitter feed from Mercedes and various other journalists that were there, real journalists that were there covering it. And Lewis's lap times in longer runs were a lot more consistent than other drivers. And that tells me
He's comfortable.
Yeah, he wasn't out there giving it beans.
Yeah.
He
Driving within his limits.
yes, just got into his rhythm.
Yeah.
If I remember last year correctly, I don't think Mercedes topped the timesheets then.
No, they didn't.
No,
and
they
it was
didn't.
exactly the same.
It was
gap
exactly
between
it was
Ferrari
exactly
and
the same, and
Mercedes.
everyone said Ferrari are going to be the big challengers to Mercedes. And how did that pan out?
Like I said, Ferrari are going to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory
Well,
at any opportunity.
Ferrari, I think, might start the season fairly strongly, but I don't think they'll be able to match Mercedes.
No.
Don't look for them at the first race, but look for them at the
No, I won't look for them at the last race because by then half the team will have been sacked for not winning a race yet this year.
I still think that it's Red Bull is the
Dark horse.
Is the dark horse. The one that Mercedes have probably got half an eye on is Red Bull more
Yeah.
than Ferrari. Just because it's fucking Red Bull, and you
Yeah.
know, like that interview, and I know this goes against what I was just saying then about having extra stuff on the car, but there was an interview with Adrian Newey, and Ted Kravitz turned around to him and said, like, the car looks very basic, and he sort of just gave a wry smile to him. He said, well, I'm a very simple man, and you just, I'm just convinced there's something else going on there.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
No.
Yeah, it's not like Red Bull to just be like, here we are, this is our car.
Yeah.
No,
I don't believe that.
He's got something hidden up the sleeves of his cardigan.
Yeah, I don't believe Adrian.
Yeah.
Adrian Newey forgot how to innovate all of a sudden.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's.
While there are pencils, he will come up
Yeah, I
with
was
new
going to say
things.
he's
Well,
handy
let's-
with the pencil. So
Let's not forget the last thing he fucking totally designed after never building a boat did okay.
yeah.
Oh no, he has built boats before. I've mentioned this on the podcast before. Every year at the Canadian Grand Prix, they had a raft race.
Yeah, but you never built like a fucking racing boat like that before.
Yeah, but they stopped the raft race after an Adrian Newey designed raft won 9 seasons on the trot, and
Yeah.
it was getting boring.
Yeah, water's easy. You can actually see water.
The thing is, it was America's Cup? Was it the boat that he designed? They're not boats. They're planes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a boat is something that floats on the water and moves. These America's Cup boats, the only contact with the water when they're at full speed is on a little bit of a fin that's about 3 inches wide by about 8 inches long.
Yeah.
So it's basically aerodynamics with a little bit of hydrodynamics mixed in.
A very little bit, by 8 by 3.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. We have some news. If we've done with, are we done with testing?
Well, Ferrari. Do we need to talk about them?
I think have we said everything that can be said about Ferrari?
I
Because-
think if Mercedes are the sandbagging winners, Ferrari are the bag sanding winners
Yep,
by far.
you did say that. Yeah, it's last year all over again. The good time, but it doesn't mean anything until.
Don't get me wrong. I want them to be closer to Mercedes.
Just quickly.
Kimmy did say that he could have gone faster on the final day.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out though that if this does turn out to be right and Ferrari do end up being really strong this year,
Awesome.
how fucking stupid do we look for the amount of stick we gave them for getting rid of James Allison, and maybe James Allison was the problem.
Well, this is essentially James Allison's car. So if it's good,
Ooh, no, because he will have started
He was
it.
on gardening leave
Yeah,
from
yeah. What?
about May.
Yeah, it was. It
Was
wasn't
he? That
yeah,
early?
Well,
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
early into the season.
right? I didn't think it was that early.
Yeah, he will have been there kind of at the very early stages before all the changes for this year were agreed on.
Yeah.
So
I'm
suspect
quite happy to be proven wrong.
I suspect getting rid of James Allison might have hurt them a lot more last year
Yeah.
than it did this year, because it's going to have taken away the push and some of the changes that were in the pipeline but in his head
Yeah.
for the 2016 car,
Yeah.
and not hurt the 2017 car so much. If you think about Ferrari's season, they started pretty strong.
Yeah.
They ended pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
It was the middle
was
where
the
they went
middle.
to shit.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
And you know, if we are wrong, fine. I'm quite happy for Ferrari to prove us wrong. I'd be quite happy for Ferrari to turn up in Australia and Kimi win and Seb finish second, as long as it's that way round.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a news.
And news.
A
Yeah,
news.
we
Is
do.
it a real news or a fake news?
It's a real news as of today. The wet standing start post safety car parade feature has been agreed on.
Oh, sweet.
Right.
It's grid start again, standing start.
Right. What's going to happen is if it's a wet or oily track,
Yeah.
the cars will set off behind the safety car on full wets. The laps behind the safety car will effectively be additional formation laps.
So
However,
it won't count towards the race.
yes.
Well, they hang on, but they're fueled for the race and they can't. This is confusing.
Yeah.
It's gonna be more fuel saving in wet races.
Additional
too.
formation laps do come off the race total. If they have a
do
second
they?
formation
Right.
lap, it does come
Oh
off.
right, okay.
Does come off the
Right,
race.
so
but
those are racing.
they will come off the lap count. However, only the first tour after the cars leave the grid will not be taken from the original race length. So the first lap out of the pit lane or the grid
Yeah.
doesn't count, and then subsequent laps do come off.
Right.
Okay.
Drivers starting the race from the pits will be allowed to join the rear of the field behind the safety car. However, they will be forced back to the pit lane when it's time for the safety car to come in.
Right. Makes sense.
So if you're having a pit lane start, you're still having a pit
You
lane
start
start.
from the pit lane.
Yeah. Also, drivers can't follow the safety car into the pit lane to change to intermediates if the conditions have improved.
They have to start on wet.
They have to start on wets.
That seems weird.
Otherwise, it's a 10-second stop and go penalty for any teams that are changing from inters to wets.
Oh, hey, you know what? That might
Before the
be
grid
worth
start.
it.
From wets to inters.
From wets to inters,
Yeah.
sorry. Overtaking isn't allowed behind the safety car unless it's to re-establish a position if you got away slowly.
Yeah, re-establish the position. I was second. I want to be first. I am re-establishing first.
Fernando, I was world champion, damn it. I'm re-establishing that position if it's the last thing I do.
However, any driver that's out of position when the safety car returns to the pits will be forced to start from the pit lane.
Ah.
So if you haven't made up your position back if you got a bad getaway,
Or if you binned it onto the grass.
or if you binned it onto the grass,
Or if you're just a McLaren.
well, they'll be starting from the pit lane anyway.
Right.
Yeah, so if conditions do not improve during the laps behind the safety car, the race director can bring the field back to the pits to wait for an improvement. This will not count as a race suspension as the race will have not officially started. But if this does happen, there will not be a second attempt at lining the cars up on the grid for a standing start. So that's a case of things are going to happen, but they might not happen, but they might happen, but they will, but then things will be different.
This is kind of the last of Bernie's rules being put in place, isn't it?
Pretty much, yes.
It's sad in a way. Almost. A little bit.
No, yeah, you're right. I think it's good. I think this whole stand and start thing is very good because how many times have we seen at the beginning of a race like scuppered because they've had to start running around the track to dry it off?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then the safety
and then the
car.
safety car pulls in,
Yeah.
and then after another 2 laps, everyone pulls in to switch to
Yeah.
inters.
Yeah.
So no, I'm all down for it. Sounds good.
Yeah, and I like the idea that you can't just switch straight away to inters, as you say, because was it a couple of years ago when Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel said, safety issues need to be called into. I think it was after Jules Bianchi's accident actually. The safety issues need to be called into it because there's not that much difference between wets and inters as to what sort of water that they clear, but inters are a lot faster.
Yeah.
So we drive on inters for as long as we possibly can until we absolutely have to put wets on. But of course, slightly less grippy tyre, gonna be a little bit faster. So I like those changes. I think they're positive.
They do seem sensible, though a little bit confusing in some places.
Formula One rules, though, isn't it?
It wouldn't be Formula One if it was straightforward. If it was this is what's going to happen and that's all, we'd be like, and?
Yeah.
Just want to get a bit serious now. This last week, we lost one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time.
Yeah.
One of the greatest motorsports.
One of the greatest motorsport drivers
People,
and
yeah.
riders of all time. John Surtees sadly passed away. The term legend gets overused, but I think we can all safely say he was one.
And how was John
Absolutely.
Surtees not knighted? CBE, but not Sir John Surtees.
Yeah, he'd had
which is ridiculous.
every honour. I think he was OBE, MBE, and CBE.
Cliff Richard is a knight.
Yes. Yet the man who, the only man to have ever won world championships on 2 and 4 wheels, is not.
But he didn't sing to a captive audience at Wimbledon.
No, he didn't. And that's why we love him.
You can't understate the achievements.
No.
Yeah,
It's not something we'll see done again. He was a multiple TT winner,
Yeah.
as well as winning what would be the equivalent of MotoGP,
yeah,
as well as being a Formula One world champion.
Yeah.
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 No one is going to do that again.
No, you're right. No one will certainly do that. and it's very unlikely that we'll see a Formula One and MotoGP world champion. Let alone the TT wins.
Yeah, that's it.
So.
The TT Grandstand just a couple of miles from here. I think he was the first person to ever pick up a hat-trick of senior wins as well. 58, 59 and 60. Then at the end of the 1960 motorcycling Grand Prix season, when he decided, I'm a 4-time world champion at this now. I think I've had enough. I think I'll go try cars. He raced in Formula One and raced for Ferrari. Won a world championship in a Ferrari in 1964. Absolute legend. Really is. Always came across very well in interviews. I think it was actually a listener as well, who's contributes to the podcast every now and again. James Holman said back in his karting days when he used to actually race with Henry Surtees, and John would be there quite often. And
was it Henry that died at Donington?
Was it Donington? I'm not sure, but yeah, Henry was.
It was a bit. Was it? Yeah, I think so.
And he was just the. Nobody's got anything other than great words to say about the man, because he was so humble, yet his achievements were so great.
I think James actually put it best when he left a comment on our Facebook page saying the guy breathed motorsport.
Yeah, he did, absolutely.
Absolutely.
The world is a lesser place without him.
He'll be massively missed. If the TT does any form of tribute, we will be there. We'll try and get pictures and try and do a little write-up as well.
Yeah.
Just as our little tribute to the legend.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right, we've got a bit of an appeal now. An appeal.
Who's lost their cat?
Well, not you, because I can hear Jensen outside.
Yeah.
No, I've already put this on the Facebook page, so eagle-eyed listeners will have already seen this, and if you haven't seen it because you don't like the Facebook page, go and like it.
Yeah.
The British Podcast Awards are coming up, and you can vote for your favourite British podcast. Technically, I suppose we are counted as British.
We're in the British Isles.
We're in the British Isles.
We're part of Britain, not part of the UK.
Yeah.
Yes.
If that's too confusing for you, then
Well, if it's too confusing for you, we're part of Britain.
yeah.
We were going to enter the Europe Best Podcast, but it's
Well, Isle of Man's never been in Europe anyway.
No.
That's too confusing.
It is.
But if you could do us a favour by going to BritishPodcastAwards.com/vote, search for us, and all you got to do is click the vote button when you found us in the search.
3 legs, 4 wheels.
3 legs, 4 wheels. 3 legs, 4 wheels Formula One podcast to give us our proper formal Sunday name.
Okay.
And
Mr. the 3 legs, 4 wheels.
It's like your old band.
It is.
Yeah, that band turned into Mr. the Chris Flood's popular beat combo.
Yes, it did.
But yeah, go to British Podcast Awards/vote, search for 3 legs, 4 wheels Formula One podcast. So you got to put your email address in there and vote for us. See how well we do.
Yeah, I'd like to thank for the people on Facebook that have already done it.
We've already had quite a few people on Facebook. And
if you're not sure how to do it, then do, as Paul said, find our Facebook page, come and follow the link and vote for us if you want to.
And we've had some votes, some people that have said they voted on Twitter already as well.
Oh, great!
So
thank you very
I think
much.
You can vote more than once as well. So
it's once per email address.
Oh, once per
email address.
If you're one of these
email addresses,
yes, if you're one of these people who've got, email addresses going back to when you were cooljason915 at whatever.
AOL.com.
Yeah. And now you are Jason Sensible Name at something else.com.
Further back than that, 3B72648Q at CompuServe.com.
Yeah.
How the hell do I remember my old email address? So we just want to thank Doug, Chris, Carlin, Pete, Ollie. Actually, no, not thanking Ollie because he said he voted for Chris Moyles. Craig, Elliot, and another Chris who have already voted for us.
Excellent. Thanks very much, guys. Thank you.
So don't be left out. Talking of Mr. the Chris Flood and his popular beat combo.
Oh no.
You got a guitar?
Yes I do.
Go on, prove it. Yep, that sounds guitar-y. Total shunt time.
Less of an impression this week because last week's was terrible. More of a parody.
It wasn't terrible. It was
That's
fabulous.
what I'm doing. But yeah, no,
That's actually better than you did it last week.
He's here again.
Tommy used to work on the dock. Now he's a total shunt. You shit out of luck is tough. So tough. A somber intro to this week's episode. Who's a total shunt?
And I've got to say, that is the best Slipknot impression I think I've ever heard.
But we've got our special weapon back in the room, Dan. Dan, you special weapon.
Put the guns away.
Absolute.
You didn't just do the suns out, guns out pose. That I did.
Totally did. I totally did.
It's not right without a vest. Are we ready?
I can put a vest on if you want.
No.
Dan's just gonna rip the sleeves off his t-shirt as he be like, oh yeah,
Hulking up.
flex my muscles. Just don't make him angry. Anyway, back to the serious time because we've been terrible since Dan's been away.
You have been terrible.
In fairness, so have you.
No.
Hashtag shunt, yes.
Should have got last week's Carlos Reutemann, didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Should have got Mario. Mario was fucking ace.
No, that threw me completely. I had
Yeah.
no idea who we were talking about with Mario. Well done to those of you who did get that one. Who else have we had whilst Dan's been away that we didn't get?
Can't remember.
Oh, Jochen Rindt.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the one. Yeah, that was the controversial one. But controversy has been and gone.
It has.
Let's continue with.
Let's strive to victory because you should get this one.
Let's hope so.
Go on then.
Uh,
Oh, do you want to explain?
Oh, hang on. There's new rules.
There's new
isn't
rules
there?
that Dan doesn't know.
Is there new rules?
yeah, it's nothing crazy. After the third question and the
Sixth, is it?
sixth question, you have to give me a answer.
Right.
But we still only get one guess after the sixth
Yeah,
question. But we can do that after the last one. How many clues have we got this week, Lee?
10, and
Ooh, nice round 10. No spaffer clue.
No spaffer question because it's too easy. Anyway.
Too easy this week.
Yeah.
Oh.
Go for it. Go on. If I think it's going to be getting, I think we should hand it to Paul because Paul hasn't actually got a point yet.
Would have got Jochen. Anyway.
I began my career on 2 wheels.
Okay. So we're looking at the obvious that we just discussed then.
I don't think it could be that obvious. That
Damon Hill also began his career on 2 wheels.
as a dispatch rider.
I think he also raced on 2 wheels.
No, he was a dispatch rider.
Was he?
Yes.
Oh right, okay. I remember hearing.
So which career are you talking about? Are you talking racing career, Lee, or
Yeah, we're not allowed
just first
I
job?
cannot clarify.
Yeah, we cannot we can't ask clarification.
The clues are
questions.
the clues,
Yeah.
regardless of how vague.
Should we go for a second clue?
I
'Cause
think
we've
probably
got
should.
we've got a few options, and the two obvious ones being John Surtees and Damon Hill.
My father died racing.
So that rules Damon Hill out
Yeah.
because his father died in a plane crash.
Yes.
That plane was going pretty fast.
Racing planes.
I've got another one to throw in here. That's a possibility.
Okay.
Murray Walker used to race motorbikes.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's a good point. He was here a few years ago, wasn't he?
His dad was a racer who raced in the TT.
Yeah. And
Was he killed racing?
I
though?
can't
No, it's
remember.
Murray Walker's dad. He was killed racing a woolly mammoth.
with Mr. Burns.
Oh, Mr. Bernie.
Oh dear, we're making fun out of people's deaths. And this is not the time to do it.
Should we go-
That's never happened before
No.
on this podcast.
Never. Shh, move on.
We
Clue
are
number 3, please.
we are
Lee.
respectful.
I am a Formula One driver.
So somebody who raced, so that rules out Murray
That rules
Walker.
out Murray Walker then.
Murray Walker never made it to Formula One, whereas Damon Hill and John Surtees
Might
did.
I remind you, you must give me an answer.
Father was killed racing. I don't know about John Surtees' father. John Surtees, of course, racing motorcycles in the 50s. His dad would probably have to be racing motorcycles or cars in the 30s, realistically, which is early motorsport.
Yeah.
Although they were running things like the Mille Miglia back then, and there were lots of deaths in that.
Well, first
The
first
TT
TT
was
was
1907.
1907, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so
Shall we? John Surtees is the only. The best word to use is suspect we've got at the moment.
Is there anyone more modern?
Who?
also who might have started their career when it said two wheels? You know, we could be thinking cycle racing rather than or cycling rather than
Yeah.
than motorcycling.
It won't help, but I will also clarify that
We're getting a clarification.
Father died racing. I'm considering anything involved in a motorsport environment racing.
So we're not talking like horse racing or anything like that. Then obviously
Well,
No,
no,
we could be talking rallying.
could be rallying.
but no, sorry,
Bikes.
I shouldn't have even said motorsport then. Anything involved within a sporting environment
Oh right,
is racing.
right. So it could
So-
be horse racing.
Right.
Halfway through a marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to give a guess. Should we eliminate John
Well,
Surtees?
yeah, I
And if
think
it's
that's.
I'll let you do that one
Yeah.
then, Paul.
Okay. Are you John Surtees?
I'm not John Surtees.
So it was too obvious.
Yes.
And we cleared it out of the way, so we know he's not John Surtees. Somebody who started their career on two wheels. And he's a Formula One driver. And his father was
I
killed
drove a
racing.
Ferrari in the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
When was Ferrari last in Le Mans? 'Cause we're going to be going back good 20 years at least.
Yeah.
There's a Ferrari in Le Mans last year, wasn't there?
I don't think so.
Yeah, there was.
Was there?
Was
in
there?
in the Le
Was it,
Mans.
was it in
2.
GT?
Yeah.
GT class.
Who was driving it?
Murray Walker.
Alex Rossi, I think. He was in there somewhere.
Was a Formula One driver.
I think we're going to need the next clue while Lee has a biscuit.
Yeah, well, he's not technically having one.
It's almost like is it a biscuit?
No,
they were in
not
the
really.
biscuit section.
I,
It's more like a pastry.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say it's more of a pastille than a biscuit.
Admittedly, it was in the biscuit section next to the Jaffa cakes.
They're not biscuits.
Let's get on with the game. We could be here all night. My nickname was Tubby. Now I'll give you the question.
Oh right.
So we're looking for somebody who perhaps a little bit redundant.
Carried a little bit of extra bulk.
Yeah. Alan Jones.
No, he said was. Nickname was Tubby. Not is.
Well, he still carried a bit of extra weight when he's in the car, didn't he?
Well, no. I don't necessarily mean he's dead. That implies that he was Tubby and now isn't.
Yeah, I don't think people lose nicknames. I don't usually clarify things, but I think you're confusing yourself.
I know. I think.
Dan's in thinking mode and being extremely quiet
That's because I'm
in
trying
thinking
to think of
mode.
something and failing miserably.
That's just Dan's thing. Give me another fucking question, Tubby.
Yeah, don't know. Don't know
Am I
the
right in
nickname.
thinking that you need to give me an answer after the next question?
After the next
After
one
the
will
next
be number
one,
6.
yeah.
Yes. I think we need to go for number 6.
I think we need number 6, yeah.
I have the most consecutive fastest laps.
So bloaty and quick. Yeah, we're still into Alan Jones
Mansell.
here, aren't we? Yeah.
I'm massively surprised you're not done. Massively surprised. Bigly surprised.
It's not a word.
Huge.
We give you the best surprises. It's going to be... Well, it's got to be someone really obvious.
It is. Chris looks like he's had a thought.
Did Michael Schumacher race bikes before Formula One? He
No,
raced the
he
bikes
grew-
after Formula
No,
One.
he grew up racing karts because his parents owned a kart track.
What did
But he-
Villeneuve start in?
Oh. Oh, yeah. That's a possibility. Yeah, you could be onto something here. Should we go for that for the second one?
Yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'm none closer.
Yeah, I can't imagine him admitting to having the nickname Tubby.
Is that your answer?
If you say it in a French accent, it might mean something completely different. Tubby.
To bay.
Or not to be.
Should we go with...
Should we go with that? Go with that.
I'm not Jacques Villeneuve. I do, however, have the highest percentage of wins in a season.
Highest
I thought
percentage
that
of
was-
race wins in a season. You're looking at Michael Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel, and Lewis Hamilton. Well, Hamilton's dad's still alive.
Fairly sure Schumacher's parents are both still alive. Although I may be wrong.
And Vettel was never mentioned having parents.
Yeah.
It's because he was born in a test tube in Red Bull headquarters.
The highest percentage of wins in one Formula One season.
In a season.
In a season.
In a season, so it doesn't necessarily mean Formula One because he's being deliberately vague again.
What happened? Well, we're going back to the early days again, but Fangio had an incredible win rate in Formula One. He won something ridiculous, like 46% of the races he entered
Yeah.
in 7 years. He won 3.5 years worth of Formula One.
Which is about the amount of testing laps that Mercedes have just done.
Yeah.
Right,
we've only got one guest left, so
we'll hold on until.
so we're thinking.
So we're thinking Tubby Fangio.
Well, Fangio wasn't a thin man, was he? Let's be honest. Back in those days, a lot of racers didn't have to be athletic.
And they ate good dinners.
Yeah,
But I mean, is Tubby
and usually drove drunk.
Yeah.
is Tubby something that you would call somebody who's from Argentina? Unless it's the literal translation, you know. The clues are the clues. We can't see clarification
Yeah.
on the clues.
Yeah, go for the next one.
Can do.
My last win was the Swiss Grand Prix.
Which hasn't been on the calendar for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
So it's probably not Hamilton or Vettel or Schumacher.
Even with some of Bernie's ridiculous naming conventions.
See, it's that logic that these have been missing.
Well, that's kind of obvious with the fact that Hamilton, Vettel, and Schumacher's parents are all still alive. None of them. I think we know if either of their fathers have been killed racing.
I'm leaning more towards Fangio.
I will remind you, you only have one guess left.
One clue left.
Did he start
Two
on
clues.
2 wheels?
Oh, 2 clues.
That's the thing I'm not sure about. Hang on, I'll Google it. Oh. We've still got 2 clues.
May as well just use them.
Yeah, we'll go for
Yeah.
the next clue.
I'm a double world champion.
Double world champions. We're looking at Alberto Ascari. If we're going back that far. Hang on. Double world champions.
But does that mean world champion in the same sport twice or 2 sports?
The only person to have won world championships on 2 and 4 wheels is John Surtees, and we know it's not him.
That is true.
So,
But could it be somebody that's won a rally championship and a Formula 1
I
championship?
don't know if anyone's ever done that. Double world champions. Alberto Ascari, I think, is a double world champion. I don't know if he started off his career on 2 wheels. Other double world champions. Fernando Alonso is a double world champion. I'm working backwards now. Fernando Alonso.
But he didn't win the Swiss Grand Prix when it was in Azerbaijan.
No. Mika Hakkinen, that's too late. Working backwards with double world champions now. I work better, you see, when I work backwards through the world championships rather than starting at the front and working forwards.
But we don't know that it was a double Formula 1 world champion. Could be a double motorbike world champion who then moved into Formula 1 racing.
Or it could have been 2 Formula 2 championships because they were big at the
Yeah.
time.
Could be Snap.
World championship is Snap.
There must be one.
Yeah, it must be.
Whoever it was, they had the power.
And why?
Which
Nothing.
there were some big name bike racers moved into Formula 1.
Mike Halewood.
Mike Halewood, yeah.
But Mike Halewood, a 2-time world champion in MotoGP. Well, what eventually became MotoGP.
Well, Formula 1 motorcycling then, wasn't it? Or
Something like
Motorcycle
that.
World Championship or...
Yeah. I don't know.
No, it's... Yeah, well, I think we'll have to take the last clue.
You should get this now. I have given my name to a chicane.
The Ascari chicane
Ascari chicane.
in Monza will go with Alberto Ascari.
I'm Alberto Ascari.
I think you can claim that one, Chris.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd like to thank.
Did somebody send those in?
No, they sent the suggestion of the person, and then I had to go and do the legwork.
That's wonderful. I enjoyed that one actually.
Yeah.
It was a bit diverse. Went through. I didn't realise Alberto Ascari started his career on 2 wheels. I guess Paul's doing some furious left-handed googling.
No, I'm,
you're not at all.
I'm opening up the mailbag.
Opening up the mailbag, ready for
thanks
the...
to Luke, and that's at Lukey Boy at Lukey_boy on Twitter.
Well, thanks very much for that,
Yeah,
Luke. That was a
thank you.
wonderful one, and it was tough, but also not too tough, not Mario tough.
Yeah. Oh, this is the same Luke that wants to know, is Zelda any good? Because he sent a tweet in earlier and I replied when we were putting the show notes together and you were playing Zelda.
Yeah, it's one of the best games I've ever made, and well worth spending £300 buying a Switch for it as well.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Video game recommendations as well as F1.
Nice.
What more could you want out of the podcast? So vote for us at BritishPodcastAwards.com/vote.
Now, just go and do it now.
See?
Do it.
Help
Snuck
our
that one in.
fame hungry ends.
Right, mailbag. We have from, I think this is Mike Wolfskell.
Hello, Mike.
Do you think Hamilton's sandbagging? He's not running too fast during testing. Is it a ploy to make the paddock think that the car isn't as fast as we would think?
I don't think he is sandbagging, but I don't think they're pushing the car at all. They're doing a testing program that is not aimed around showing that they can do the fastest laps.
Yeah, it's a comfort zone testing program.
Yeah.
Or it was, rather, a comfort zone testing program. And if anything went wrong in their comfort zone, then maybe they needed to go back over a few things. Nothing seemed to go that wrong for
this
them.
is how they ran it last year. Brickloads of laps.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that the car works.
Yeah, and then they went to the first race and were...
And then,
Yeah.
they just demolished everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, I think that's what we're going to see this season.
Yeah, well, Ferrari had a chance to win that first race, though, last year, if you remember. Threw it
Yeah,
away,
I-
though.
for one
I
screwed up
wouldn't
pit stop.
write Ferrari off just yet.
No, let's not do that. But I think, as I've already explained, Mercedes sandbagging, Ferrari the other way around.
I have an email from Stephen Waugh. He
Hello,
says...
Stephen.
As in war, what is it good for?
It's the posh spelling with a U.
Oh, right.
W-A-U-G-H.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you're reading it wrong, it could be pronounced Wolf.
Stephen Waff.
Hey guys, and welcome back, Dan.
Thank you.
A regular talking point on the podcast is that F1 has poor access for its fans. I've been looking into trying to get to a race weekend for the coming season, but it's extortionate. I'm from Glasgow, and the cheapest I'm finding is around £500 for a weekend, and that's for Barcelona.
So it's not extortionate. You're tight.
The thing is, though, how is it cheaper to get to Barcelona from Glasgow than it is to get to Silverstone?
Yeah, blame airlines, not Formula One.
There is, yeah.
Probably
Sorry, carry
Virgin
on.
Rail.
Yeah.
What else is Steve saying?
Yeah. I'm going to a week in Ibiza for a good bit less than that. Just try not to die. That's what people seem to do in Ibiza.
It's a bit dark.
Yeah, they usually drink themselves to death. You've
Yeah.
seen the
And
documentaries.
they don't all die. Some of them come back with HIV. Carry
You
on.
accuse me of being dark. Do you feel that with Liberty Media taking over, they would look at reasonably affordable options at trying to get people to the track? This sort of brings up the point where there's been FOM-approved big hospitality and paddock club packages.
Yeah, which, like £12,000 for a weekend when you can go and sit in the paddock club, not watch the race and
Yeah,
drink
but they're
champagne.
not for us.
No,
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
That's
Because Liberty Media say that they, or F1 as they are now, say that they want to reconnect with the fans.
Yeah.
Would it be in their best interest to have like approved package suppliers for your normal fan?
No, I don't think it make any difference because, like, Formula One ticket price is not extortionate. It's not £150.
I mean,
it's not £150.
getting to the track is the
£100.
worst part, I think.
Yeah, but that's because of where tracks are, and that's not Formula One's fault.
No.
But you look at something like Formula E, it gets shat on quite a lot.
Yeah,
but
but
it's trying to do races in city centres to make it easier and cheaper for people to get there.
Yeah, that's grand. But
Because you got hotels nearby, you got flights get you there.
Yeah, but what all I'm trying to say is that unless you want Formula One to become just street circuits, which we really don't, Formula One can't fix this problem because let's say you're going to Germany and you're going to go to the German Grand Prix. That's pretty good rail, to be perfectly honest. The city actually puts if you've got a Grand Prix ticket,
Nürburgring or
Nürburgring.
yeah.
They also Hockenheim it was.
Yeah.
And this was the same in Milan as well. If you had a Formula One ticket, the train was free to the circuit.
Yeah.
So that's something the city put on, not Formula One. But even saying that, say your ticket's £100, yeah. So if you're already spending especially if you live on the Isle of Man, you're paying £500, £450, to get to the country to watch the race. £100 for a ticket isn't the expensive part.
Yeah.
So it's not Formula One isn't extortionate. Travel is extortionate, and that's not Formula One's fault.
I agree with you to that point, but I would like to see something, like an approved travel partner, so from like certain destinations. Of course, again, you'd have to get yourself to those destinations before you then got the cheaper travel or whatever.
But don't forget, that it's not in Formula One's interest, almost. Well, it's in Formula One's interest, but the idea being that a country puts an event on, but the circuit is wanting to sell tickets to who's around it.
That's it. I mean, you're not gonna. With the greatest of respect to Stephen, you're not gonna
get a Grand Prix of Scotland.
No, and you're not going to get a ticket for Barcelona and be like, yes, I've got a ticket for Barcelona, and being from Scotland, it's not the easiest place to get to. Scotland to Barcelona,
Unless you fly Ryanair, then you probably land in Paris or something.
Yeah.
Well, they claim it's Barcelona French division.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd rather spend £100 and something on a ticket to watch a Formula One race.
Yeah, no.
Than £100 and something to go to V Festival.
Well, put it this way, we're all in bands. Okay,
Yeah.
we put on a gig at some point, and we're like, all right, it'll be one of those rare ones that's actually a ticketed event.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we're selling tickets. We'd be amazed if someone who wasn't on the Isle of Man bought a ticket for that.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I can see exactly where you're coming from. But it would be nice if there was, official travel partners to sort of, fly out from this airport. But again, you still got to get to that airport before you get.
It would be nice, but I don't think it would change anything because you'd have official travel partners, but the amount of people that they would take on to go to a Grand Prix isn't going to be enough people to actually give any major discounts.
Well, you normally find with travel partners that there are quite substantial discounts.
Yeah, no, but because that's because usually when you've got a travel partner for somewhere, it means if you become our partner, we can guarantee you 100,000 people are going to travel with you.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not talking about 100,000 people. You're probably talking about a few thousand people.
Mm.
So the numbers aren't there to make it any different.
Which is why Formula One is a global sport,
Yeah.
I suppose.
So. Yeah, it's not going to change. Like I say.
Sorry, Stephen. It might be Silverstone or nothing.
Yeah.
Even though Barcelona's cheaper.
Yes.
But yeah, blame Virgin Trains for that.
Yeah.
Dave Roebuck sent a tweet in. Bit of a prediction question from us. Who's going to finish higher in the Constructors' Championship this season? I'm guessing this is, as things stand at the moment, pre-first race, post-testing. McLaren or Haas?
Haas.
I've got to agree with you.
Yeah, probably. I mean, McLaren probably got a better car, but it's all dependent on whether Honda can sort themselves out.
Keep enough to keep the car going.
Yeah,
I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to say McLaren.
I hope so.
Because I think Haas are in a position where they're quite often going to be 11th, 12th. McLaren, I think, will do the occasional top 6 finish.
See, I don't, because I think they're going to have 2015 again.
In 2015 they had Austin.
Yeah. In 2015, Haas wasn't around.
Yeah, I think when McLaren come good, they'll come better than Haas at their best.
I hope so. It would be nice.
I think we're going to see double McLaren retirements more than we see double Haas retirements.
Yeah. Then again, Haas have got 2 shit drivers.
This is true.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. Even if they're on, if it turns out that even the Haas and McLaren are on par with each other at some point in the season, McLaren have an Alonso.
Well, also look at it this way as well. If we get the reliability problems in the first race of the season, which is becoming rarer and rarer as the years go on, and you've got the Renault cars, for example, dropping out, a little bit early on, or maybe they haven't got the pace, then a couple of accidents.
Yeah.
McLaren are possibly there, but
Saying
then Haas are probably ahead of them as well.
The way it's looking, the amount of engines they've been through, we could be looking at race 5 at the beginning of McLaren's penalties.
We won't even get that far.
You get 4 engines, don't you? Oh yeah, wait, sorry. If it's the same as the test, if it's the same as the test, race 2.
That's what I mean. Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and they'll replace power unit parts, and but
Well, realistically, if that car is shaking its engine to the point where it's braking, they're going to lose 2 engines in the first race.
yeah, well the point I thought you were going to make was that they could just completely destroy their power unit pool and just keep throwing in newly developed power units until it's right.
Oh, I
think
that's
don't
what they'll
forget-
have to do.
Don't forget, power unit penalties carry over from race to race now.
Yeah.
So if we get to another situation where it's a 100 place grid penalty,
Yeah, that's
um,
them for the rest of the season.
that is them for the rest of the season on just one power unit change if they've changed all the components.
Then it's supposed at least it doesn't matter. They just know they're starting last every single race.
Yeah.
So it's we're going to plug 2 engines into this one car today. Changing engines in pit stops.
Or plug 2 engines into the car at the same time and maybe get a chance of third. Got the results of your poll that you did earlier, Lee, the one that you put on Facebook.
Yeah, about the Alonso thing.
Will Fernando quit McLaren? either no before Austria, halfway through the season, at the end of the season, or Nando is loyal and will still be in the car in 2018. The overwhelming...
I like that I looked around the room then and everyone was shaking their heads.
Yeah,
So, our consensus is not going to be there in 2018.
Yeah, one person, Elliot Leach, said yes, he'll be there in 2018. The 40 responses that we've got at the moment.
I can only surmise that he didn't understand the question.
Yeah, the overwhelming response we got at the moment was a lot of angry faces. So the prediction is halfway through the season from everyone.
That's usually what happens when I say something anyway.
What, an angry face?
Loads of them.
A lot of angry faces.
Bearing in mind that for the first 20 minutes of the poll, there was 2 options for an angry face.
I can't see him walking away mid-season.
I can see him announcing what he's going to do next year, mid-season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he will be at the last race of this year in a McLaren.
I'll agree with you. I think that will happen.
Or at least in the McLaren pits, looking at his car, thinking, I wish this was on the grid.
Yeah.
Saying that, come Silverstone time, halfway through the season, if he's got a nice shiny Mercedes contract that he's already signed for 2018, I can see him going, fuck this shit. I'm going to prepare myself for next year.
My garden needs a little bit of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
You just want
Fuck
Jensen
you.
back.
Listen,
Not in that car.
No, maybe 2018 though. But don't forget, I did tell you about me. I was going to start to initiate Project Phoenix. All you need to know is how far am I willing to go?
I would say you worry me at times, but I think I can just drop the at times.
I like
This
the idea
time
of,
he's gone too
having
far.
a McLaren board meeting, and they're there like, "Oh, we've tried everything. Like, there's nothing we can do. Everything we've tried with the engine." And someone comes in and says, "Found this book by Aleister Crowley in Ron's room. Is there anything to do with sex magic can fix the engine?"
Oh dear God. Niall Slim Drew. Is this the beginning?
What?
Yeah, that's his name on Facebook. Niall quotes Slim Drew.
Hello, Slim.
That's just 3 words. That's just 3 different words put together. Niall's a big river. Slim is what I'm not. Drew is what you do when you put a pencil on the paper. That's not a name. What's your name? Car Hamster Bag.
Oh, I'm sorry, Niall.
Oh God.
You do know what a button is, don't you, Lee?
Yeah, but Jensen's a name.
It's a kind of car.
He's named after a car.
So yeah. Hasn't he got he's got two middle names as well?
I was going to say, what's his middle name? Only you would know that.
No, I did know. I forgot.
Interceptor Danger.
Oh, what a name!
I'm having to look this up now. No. Alexander.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a name.
Lions.
That's like a tea cake.
Anyway, what's Slim saying?
What he says
He's
is
saying that all the other Slim Shadys are just imitate.
is this the beginning of the end for this podcast? I mean, is this the beginning of the end for McLaren? Got a whiff of Tyrrell and the like to me, I hate to say it. Last few years have been laughable and can't be good for the brand image. I think we sort of covered that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah,
I think
it's rescue it or become Williams. Or worse.
Mediocre.
Yeah.
One last question from...
Sorry, mediocre would be a step forward.
Yeah, that's true, actually. One last question from regular
They're
contributor
kind of
Doug.
mediocre, though, aren't they?
What was Dan really doing the past few weeks?
Well, that's what when they can't tell you that. Well, I can't tell you that.
Yeah, I was on holiday.
You weren't going to the Hard Rock Cafe.
I didn't go to the Hard Rock Cafe.
What? Whoa! Step back!
Definitely didn't go to the Hard Rock Cafe.
Where were you again?
I didn't go to the Hard Rock Cafe near Angkor Wat.
That took a lot of work.
That could have gone so wrong.
That did go so wrong. Were you not listening?
Yeah, he nearly said Hard Rock.
Yeah.
And that would have been
In
a
Angkor
lot.
Wat. Oh, dear.
Oh God! Well, thanks to everyone that's been in touch over the last week, and
That wasn't the end of that, was it? The end of the question about where Dan went.
That was the end of that question.
yeah, that was the end of that question.
No, oh, was it?
Yes, the other one was the Patreon that we did earlier
Oh, did we do the Patreon one early?
on the Patreon show.
I can't remember.
It was for the Patreon
That was
podcast.
fucking minutes ago.
Exactly. Talking of the Patreon show, if you want to listen to our weekly extra podcast, which has got nothing to do with F1 and usually nothing to do with sanity,
It's steadily becoming...
Or decorum. There is no decorum on
No,
the
there-
Patreon podcast, especially
if
not
if
this
you're
week.
easily offended, just give us money and don't listen.
but if you want to do that, you can pledge on our Patreon page. If you go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels, you can sign up there for as little as $1 a month.
That gets you the unfortunate half-hour extra
The
podcast a
cheap
week.
seats.
There are other levels of donations, which are the prizes for those are very close to being sorted. Again,
Yes.
I've just got to get my hands on this bloody accountant. He drives a Mini. He's hard to get hold of. You can get us on Twitter.
He'll get out of it one day,
Yeah,
and we'll get him.
one of these days. But he's 6'4". It's hard to get out of a Mini when you're that size.
Fuck.
It's one of the proper old school Minis as well. It's not the big BMW ones.
They're not minis.
No, they're Binnies.
They're just not small.
I like the Clubman, the ones with like the double doors on the back.
At the back, yeah.
I like them. I think they're nice cars.
Carry
Yeah,
on,
but
Paul.
it's too big to be a Mini. You can't call it a Mini if it's big.
It's smaller than a Hummer.
So's this podcast. Yeah, if you want to get hold of us on Twitter, you can get us at 3 Legs 4 Wheels.
I'm at A Total Shunt on Twitter.
At Flood21.
At Danbert.
And at Pablo100. We've also got the Facebook page. Just go to Facebook and search for 3 Legs 4 Wheels. And I'm going to plug it again. We've already done this twice. If you please go to BritishPodcastAwards.com/vote, search for us and vote for us on there.
Can we put it in the description?
I will put that in the description of the podcast as well. So that will be there on iTunes and Podbean and Stitcher and everything else and all the other podcast apps.
Yeah.
Just
Go
want to
and
thank...
do it, or I'm going to steal your family pet.
That's harsh.
I won't kill it.
Oh, that's all right then.
Unless they don't vote.
Now who's getting dark?
I'm confused.
Yeah, so am I. I'm going to bring this back on track. We'll be back next week for a preview of the first race of the season.
Whoa!
What?
Yep, it'll be preview show next week.
No way.
Yep, we are into the last fortnight of F1-lessness. Is that a word?
Well, I was confused when I woke up this morning. I was like, it's Monday. There must be some testing. No, that's finished now. That's gone. No, nothing to look forward to. No, nothing to read.
Well,
No, nothing to read.
all the words haven't disappeared.
Yes, they have. This is my world during the winter months.
Yeah, all the words clearly haven't disappeared because some guy fucking tweeted us with like 3 random ones as his name.
So yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll be wildly speculating on the first race of the season
Because we won't have anything else to do.
because we won't have anything else to work off. So we'll see you in a week's time.
Bye bye. My name is Flashlight Indigo Bobsleigh.
My name is Garage Hat Snowman.
My name's Dan.
I'm confused.
No.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.